the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports. From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports Podcast. I am Paul Dawalibi. I'm joined today by my friend and co-host, the Honorable Judge Jimmy Baratta. For those of you who are new to the podcast, welcome to the official podcast of esports. What we do here is we cover the most pressing gaming and esports topics and news of the week. We look at all of it through a business and C-suite lens. We dissect, we analyze the business implications of everything happening in this industry. For our regular listeners, thank you guys for tuning in every week. Thank you for all the love, the 5-star ratings and reviews. If you haven't yet, go leave a review on the podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you listen to this or watch this. Leave a review, leave a comment, share the podcast with your friends. That's how we've grown. We really appreciate it from you guys. It means a lot to us. Jimmy, how you doing this week?
Paul, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Happy to be here as always. Happy to have everyone returning, listening. I just want to apologize in advance if my audio sounds off. I'm on the road in San Francisco for GDC and having a great time.
I'm a little bit jealous. I surprisingly don't really love traveling, but I am jealous that video game conferences are always fun, right? I feel like that's one of the perks of the job because there are industries where the conferences are exceptionally boring.
You know, I was in an industry where the conferences were boring. I was on the board of directors for a nonprofit in my legal field, and we had these big, corporate retreats and guest speakers, but it was all very dry content. And here I'm putting on VR headsets and testing out new games, getting tons of swag. I have like 9 t-shirts in my suitcase right now that I got today.
What do lawyers discuss at conferences? I feel like it's
our hourly billing requirements and current things in front of the legislature.
There new stuff to try? Are there booths? Are there?
It's like what knot are you using on your tie? Is that a Windsor? Is that a half Windsor?
I will say I wanted to. I know you used to be a Fortnite guy too. And we have an amazing guest today, and I want to get to him. But before that, I just wanted to say, have you seen the new season of Fortnite? I feel like this week has been like, how Discovery has Shark Week? This has been the Prophet was right week. Did you see the new season of Fortnite? And what is particular about this new season of Fortnite?
You're alluding to, I heard they're removing building for only for a short period, though. I thought it was just for like a month. Is it for the entire Battle Pass season?
No, they said it was going to be a short period. I don't know what that means. I will say, I said long time ago, building was one of the biggest problems Fortnite had from an esports perspective because it makes it ridiculous to watch, not fun to watch. It's just these giant build battles. You can never figure out what's going on. It genuinely looks like a more fun game, and it's definitely more fun to watch, right? Like I would never watch Fortnite, and I found myself watching Ninja, and Ninja's like enjoying himself more than he ever has. The reviews seem to be like huge.
I think my squad's gonna try it. That was always a sticking point for one of our guys in our group who was not a great builder. I can't say if you're on the other side of it and you're watching someone build his way to you to just demolish you, you just know you're gonna get clapped, and it's not a fun experience. So hopefully it does well for them. I think we'll talk about it a lot on the live show tonight, and for our listeners, every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. You can also listen to it on the same podcast feed. So if you don't have time to show up live, it's available at your schedule, at your leisure. But it's so much fun when people come, they ask questions, and we'll spend more time on these topics based off of what our live audience wants to hear about. So please show up if you can make it. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's a good point, Jimmy. And now people, you guys, our listeners, you are so spoiled, right? Free of charge. Now you're getting 3 episodes a week. You're getting this podcast. where you get interviews with the absolute most incredible people in the industry. And today's guest is no exception. And then you get the new show, which is the most fun I think you can have consuming any kind of gaming content during the week. And then now you get Office Hours with the Professor, which has been a smash hit. Everyone I talk to loves it. And so you guys are just tremendously spoiled. I feel like we could be charging at least $1,000 a month for this. So like get in while you can. It's free. Make sure you share it with your friends. Jimmy, I want to introduce our guest today. We have an amazing guest today. We have Alex Kornilov, who is the CEO and founder of BETEGY. They are a company doing really cool things around sports betting, esports betting technology, obviously. Alex, welcome to the Business of Esports Podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. Hi, Paul. Hi, Jimmy.
Alex, for our listeners that maybe don't know about you or about BETEGY, would love a little bit of your background, like how you got into gaming, why you got into gaming, why you decided to start BETEGY, and then a little bit about what you guys do there, right? What is the business all about?
Sure. So let's dive in a little bit. So BETEGY at the beginning was actually a data analytical company, and it still is in a nutshell. And what is interesting that while I was in my university doing my bachelor degree, I started to work in a Ministry of Economic Research, where I was able to first see the power of big data analytics. And I was doing pretty simple projects, more like, taking methodology and putting it into work in various statistical programs and so on. So my first degree is in management, but still in Polytechnic University, but like technology-driven environment. So I was always excited. And for me, the main implication of using the data was not actually the formulas and all the stuff, but what kind of outcomes I can get out of it, and how interesting it can be. And so I became just interested slightly. I did my degree, like master degrees, in 4 universities in Europe, and then afterwards, I was always, let's say, entrepreneur by nature, starting from my family. And then I tried multiple things, opening travel agencies. I tried opening the vending machine business in the university. I won the edition of Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, whatever you call it, in 19. Opened first business, it failed. So I had this kind of series of things. But then once I was already after masters working in some corporate job, a few people contacted me saying, "Oh, Alex, we have an algorithm which can predict the outcomes of soccer games." And I said, like, that is interesting. How does it work? And they show me the model, how it works. And I was like, not so much interested, but let's take a look. And then we started to analyze how the algorithm work. I dived deep into this system and see how well the predictions are. And back 2012, when we started BETEGY, it was a data analytical company with with main focus to predict the outcomes of the games of soccer. What happened then? We started to, we raised a round of investment in Germany for a nice. But by the way, like the company is originally Polish. I'm Ukrainian by origin. So, and we have investors from all over the world, and now opened the office in the US, having declined there. So just to give you a context, where am I now, and where we go. So we started to develop this model and to develop the accuracy of those predictions. We created a B2C service, which allowed our clients to go into the system and see all the projections, predictions, power rankings, data crunching. And then as a side business, we started to sell this API to media companies. And because our API was pretty good, the data was pretty good, and we bought a great data sources and feeds, analyzed it well, and provided a nice output, we signed ESPN, Yahoo Sports, Ringrax Springer, which is one of the biggest media houses here in Europe, and so on and so forth. And we realized we actually have an interesting thing, so we do B2B and B2C. And then one day we signed a deal with Yahoo Sports for providing data for European Soccer Championship back 2016. And what is interesting, while we've been doing the deal, it was very cool and, hype, and okay, we'll be featured there. And they gave us a really prominent place to show our projections, and they also pay for it. I mean, really nice.
Yeah, you see
and
your
then,
stuff on ESPN, right? That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's thinking, oh, okay. And then we sign it, like the deal signing takes 6 months. And then afterwards, they say, it's cool you signed, like the tech team says, it's wonderful you signed, but we'll not be able to integrate it on our front end pages. So it's like, oh shit, that actually was not the plan. They say, we still pay you. So like, yeah, but it's still like, it doesn't solve the problem. They say, guys, can you give us a few pages, which we will create our own iframes and put it will look like Yahoo Sports website exactly, but it will be our content run through our servers. No one will see the difference. We'll be ready for the traffic. And it turns out it was one of the most engaging pages during the whole tournament. So when the product team contacted me afterwards, they said, Alex, it's cool, but can you visualize all data we have? Because the problem we have is that like we buy data from you, we buy data from Opta, we buy data from SportsRadar, and multiple data feeds. And the way we visualize it is actually tables. So it's not so engaging. So I said, wonderful, interesting project. Let's have a separate team for that. And then Yahoo Sports, Yahoo in general was bought by AOL. The whole project basically stalled. But during this conversation, we had a wonderful talk with chief editor of sports in the UK. And what he said is, Alex, we buy so many things of those data points, but we never use it to create a content itself. So when we cover certain game preview or anything, it's such a perishable content, it should be created quickly, then it's the lifespan of it is maximum 24 hours. Usually it's like 1 hour or something. And if I write a review, I have no chance to use the data points. The only thing I can do is just put them with my fingers in a text and usually put a generic picture of a player or athlete and so on. I wish it was there would be a service which allows you just to select the event you want, select the data point you want, select the medium where you want this to be, like where it should go, and then it will magically visualize something for me. And we had this kind of projects internally to promote our B2C business. So I said, wait, give us a second. We created it for media companies. And media companies loved it, because you can go to any event, select the data point you want compared to athletes. And it was like instant, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like few clicks, and you have infographics and animations and in different sizes and shapes. But where's the problem? The problem is media companies cannot pay for this service in like back then in Europe, let's say, because their budgets are limited to the amount of advertisements they sell. So basically, if you want some sophisticated tool, you need to approve it through the, top level management, which was always a problem. We never were able to find the business model behind it. Wonderful product, no business model. And then I said, okay, but we have also betting operators and bookmakers. They have probably the same problem there, because they need to create content to attract people. They still is the same race for eyeballs and for freshness of the content. And what we can do there, what if we'll add odds to the mix of data sources? Can we produce content for betting operators? So it was more like a little bit like in the movies. We created a small demo. I took a laptop, went to some betting conference. I was not very much into betting back 2017, 18. And I came and said, hi, I'm Alex, who is here from marketing. I want to show how you can use data to create data-driven content. Like I found the guy, I just start showing him, and he says, wait. I need to get my team here. So team comes, and wait, we need to get our head of marketing here. And by the end of presentation, I have 20 people watching this demo and saying, oh, can you do it for banners? Can you generate landing pages based on this? I say, okay, now it looks like we're getting somewhere. So back 2018, we turned the business around. We removed the B2C part of the business. We focus on data visualization and helping companies, betting companies, media companies now as well, to create data-driven content in scale for multitude of channels, connecting all possible things. And we, for example, started from the top betting companies all the way to top media companies. So for example, recently, and the technology takes different shapes and forms, so we can generate different pictures, banners, different landing pages, infographics. And then we went further and created brick and mortar solution for retail experience. And then we went further and created overlays for TV production. So for example, if you have certain TV channel sign in deal with a betting operator, the only way you can actually show and expose a betting operator is just a logo. But when they integrate our solution, you can have you have Bloomberg like lower surge and running odds and widgets and all this live and 20 minutes to integrate. So we can, because we're connected directly to betting operator, we do the same visualization we do for the infographic social media, but this time for overlay. And actually the idea came from esports, so the idea to connect to these overlays. So that's what we do at the moment, and we work with top level betting operators and gaming companies. And for example, recently we signed a partnership with ESTV, where they go alive with their new platform and they see the value in actually coherent service, which allows to integrate different sponsorships through overlays and through extra social media content and through extra banners, widgets on their site and so on, which allows to connect real-time fast betting and content creation. So that's what we do, and that's in general how the data analytical background led all the way to data visualization and mainly to creation of tools which help to push marketing forward, in this sports/betting environment.
Alex, how did esports come into this for you? Like, at what point did you realize there was an opportunity there? Because it sounds like you really did start with sports betting, right?
We did. What is interesting, all organic, so it was not a visionary idea of our product team or something. So basically, we started to work on European soccer with certain betting operators, and there are some betting operators who are focused on sponsoring esports competitions. So the way they usually, if you have for example, a certain producer of a content who comments the games or does whatever action in esports they do, the way they expose a sponsor is actually t-shirts and some merch and also some logo, and maybe very rare you see some kind of odds for the event, very rare. It's hard to implement. But we had, to visualize a picture or to create an animation is very simple, well, relatively. But to run the whole backend of events, live scores, make sure that the content is relevant and and connecting to different channels is completely different game. And we had all this background, and then while we've been talking to one of the clients who use our service for soccer, they said, oh wait, we are sponsoring a lot of streamers. Is it possible actually to do some small overlays, like a small widget which shows odds? And we say, not only that, we can create all kind of lower search slabs, real-time graphics, which producer can just in few clicks put it out, and it will be so very dynamic, and it will help them to expose a brand, get the revenues up if it's an affiliate deal or something like that. And we took it, we built it for basically OBS Studio first as a solution through streaming, and we said, wait, why we cannot take it actually from esport and take it all the way to other sports or anything else? So I went to TV channels, basically sit down with producer and said, okay, guys, we have this for semi-professional production. Can we bring it to TV channels? Can we bring it like on a bigger scale? And they said yes. So we did scale it up. And for example, the last tournament, the biggest poker tournament, the World Series of Poker, they used our graphics to create all the content around the data and so on. So we actually went, and we have more exciting news to come with top TV channels in the US, So esport was an initial idea for overlays, but of course, esport is a different game in comparison to other sports. You need to be, minimize the delay to 0.2 seconds in order to get something relevant on those overlays. So we had to push our technology forward. And I'm so thankful to esports in general as the industry that it pushed that there. So that's how it's there.
Alex, can you talk a little bit about your business model? Like, how do you guys make money? Like, what is the...
So let's assume Paul, you'd like to make a paulbet.com, and and you start your journey and you say, okay, what shall I do? Probably I need to have a platform to accept bets and pay out money, like product. Okay, so you go to Sportradar, white label the solution from them. They say, Paul, what is your design brand book? So we'll style it up. They give it to you. You go to payment providers like Trustly or someone else, and you get your payment solutions. And you go to your KYC, verification. So you have some Verif who provides you. And you come to us and say, listen, now we need to need to promote it, and we don't want to promote it old way, like come here, get a 50 euro bonus, or have a $50 bonus and on the first bet. This is great, but this is not this has been done already for many years, and then it's marginal competition. So someone else can, for example, jimmybet.com will give you better bonus, so how will you compete? So if you want to create a brand and so on, so you'll go to us and say, Alex, give us a suite of tools which will allow us to go from where we now all the way to one-to-one personalization. And those tools can range from creation of multitude of banners and social media graphics and so on, which are a flat fee, which you pay to use our service during period of time. So for example, for a year, and you tell us what sports you'd like to focus on. So you say, okay, let's do NFL, let's do NBA, let's do some esports leagues. We connect them. We run the whole backend, all the marketing assets, all the feeds, everything, and you give it to your marketers, and they use it. And we don't charge, for example, for usage. But sometimes you say, okay, Alex, now we want to be bullish, and we want to spread the banners and landing pages and play in performance marketing and push the content from to personalize the content for each single state and for each user. And then we come and we say, okay, we'll build for you the banners and landing pages and everything, which will be data driven. And there we'll charge a performance fee from the uplift of the traffic which you had before to the increase which we know you will get after you introduce those kind of tools. So there's mixed model, and it depends on a client a lot. So it's not like one price and fits all, because you have different scale of projects. Because when you come to betting operator, to media company, sometimes they say we'll use just a small tiny part of your service, and some of them say we'll use a whole part of the service. And so it's constantly assessing the client, assessing their needs and deliverables and so on.
Can we explore that a little further, Alex? Because you've given us such an amazing rundown of your background of reapplication of data and finding a new product in a business model that works. The clients that you have and have had in your past are equally impressive as the underlying technology that you're utilizing. What can you share with us in terms of how you were able to land clients like ESPN and Yahoo Sports, like the others that you work with? So many of our listeners, I'm sure, would kill for any one of those, and you're crushing it on all fronts. You got to share your secret sauce.
Let's say at the beginning, when you start, you don't know your tools. Yeah, you do something, and then you say, that worked. So basically, let's start with ESPN. They were the first client on our B2B business, and one of the biggest. It turns out back 2013. Their sales department contacted me to buy their database of I don't remember what. So they had certain data feeds, and I said, wait, but maybe you need our data. We don't need your data, but maybe you want the soccer projections. And say, that's interesting, maybe. And it started, and after 6 months, we went to the product department and we signed the deal. So it was accidental. I cannot tell you that this was, let's say, something specific. But then, let's say, after 2018, we created the marketing channels to promote our tools, to promote ourselves. So what works here? First of all, like having the salespeople and calling everyone, it doesn't work. So you cannot just call, because our pricing starts. It's not like a credit card swipe. So it's not a high level. It's not like a sale where you don't have to meet a client. You basically have a process of salespeople and integration managers and so on. So it takes, the quickest deal I did lately, it's like 2 months. Yeah? But usually it's like 6 months. This is a period of a deal flow. And during this deal, during this process, you need to contact multiple people, and they need to agree on this, because the price tag is not like $10, for this or credit card swipe. So basically, we start with 100K plus for each client. We can go a little bit down on some projects, but mainly we target this kind of market, because we do a lot of things in order to help to boost the processes internally. And those clients have to be ready to do those boosts. So usually I treat every client with love, of course, like a dragon. A dragon has 10 heads or maybe 20. And we know all the clients we want to be in business with. I can tell you there are 300 betting operators in Europe. There are, way less in the US. There are media companies, and we want to work with the biggest ones who can afford the budget to actually explore the possibility of personalization, of performance marketing, of getting things to next level. And we know everyone, so I can tell you, like, and we know people inside. But then it's like, imagine you have a dragon 10 heads, and you need to talk to one. You pitch, you explain, and it says, "Good." But this head cannot be, it might be not in the place to make a decision, or not have a budget, or it's a wrong time, or CTO says we have a schedule, so let's come back. And then you have another head, and then another one, and you keep talking to those clients throughout the lifetime. And sometimes, let's take a typical one of our clients for years already. They came to me, basically somehow we connected, exhibitions, we connected with some people, get in a round of introductions or something, and they say, "Oh, we know what you do, we want some social media pictures." Not a big project, smaller price tag, but I understand that Tipico itself is a huge brand in Germany, the biggest one, with retail, with sponsorship of Bayern Munich, which is one of the top clubs of the world, and so on and so forth. So you go into this deal, and then you build a relationship, and then one day they say to you, "Alex, do you know how we use your picture?" No, they ask, "Okay, we have those formats. We need one more format." And I say, "This is kind of not very orthodox format. It's like strange." They say, "Yeah, like resolution of a screen." And they say, "Yeah, do you know how we use it? We put it in our retail locations everywhere. We have 1,200 shops and 10 screens in each, and we put your pictures because we can quickly generate them for each region, separate pictures, like we actually upload them manually, but generating it on your service, downloading to our computer, and then uploading them manually to our system." It's like, wait, we have a better solution. We can run the whole animations and customization for each of your shop automatically through URL. And it's like, "Oh, really? Is it possible?" And then now the contract is 10 times worse, more than we started. So it's actually a like long-term game, first of all. Second of all, it requires some uh, patience, and also you need to listen. So it's like the salespeople which we have are actually listening into the problem. And let's say if we come to new client, we say, "Okay, where you are now?" They say, "Okay, we're here. Where you want to be?" There. So we cannot jump there because you're not ready with your first step. So let's first figure out the automatic creation of the content. Basic things like banner slicer, who will do you automatic banners, which sounds a simple technology, but without this, you cannot build the next stage. And by the time when we build the trust on these first steps, we're able to connect in analytics, internal analytics to help them to analyze it, then segmentation, then machine learning models to get the segmentation actually from a head of a marketer to the real segmentation, which machine learning can show. Then we can apply the tools which we built for automatic content creation to serve all those micro segments. And it's a journey. So you take a hand of your client and you walk through it all the way to one-to-one personalization, which let's say is a holy grail of marketing. And in this case, we don't have a fast salespeople. We need people who know people and who can give us a warm introduction. And our guys are just be a friend, so you listen in, and that's how you do. And what helps: exhibitions, trade shows, personal meetings. Just listen, don't talk much. you know, Listen. Usually, the client in our case say everything they want. Like they need from us. They say, "Alex, we have a problem with this and this," and then they don't know your service, they don't know your capability. But the first call is usually a quick introduction, or the first meeting. You do a 20, 30 minutes introduction. Then you ask them, "Okay, so what's up? Where do you have a pain point?" And they say, "We tried to create a campaign for, for example, in Australia for horse racing, and we tried to do personalization, but we don't know, like, it doesn't work." So say, "Okay, let's tackle this." And we take one pain point, tackle it, and then we grow together with the client. So a bit evolution. It's evolution of working with the client.
Alex, I love that advice. And I just want to zero in on the differences, because I think it's always interesting, and it's a recurring theme on this podcast, to unpack the differences between the traditional sports market and the esports market.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you guys serve both, right? Without a ton of data to back it up, I feel like the esports market, at least in North America, has not exploded in the way maybe people thought, right? Most of the players here have struggled or sort of are at a standstill. I'm wondering what differences you see between the esports betting clients that you deal with and the sports betting clients that you deal with. And why do you think, and maybe like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming the sports betting clients, like that market has taken off, right? The DraftKings of the world. Do they understand that content is the best way to acquire customers more than the esports clients? Because it feels like the sports betting clients are the ones who have really bought into sort of this content as a customer acquisition method.
Multiple things that you can comment on your question here, but let's say I have a journey of running. First of all, I can compare European Union and European customers to US. Okay. Obviously, you guys are so much more data driven. That's just like honey to my ears. I cannot express. Like when I come and I work with American companies, it's amazing because everyone expects to have a data driven solutions, and everyone is into fantasy, everyone into numbers, and the sports which you have as a leading sports, so like they have more numbers in it by itself than, for example, associated soccer. That's one thing. Second, I think that if I have to compare esports betting and in general acquisition strategy and traditional betting acquisition strategy. It's like way harder to create content for esport. Why? Because traditional sports, they're low pay sports, and even we see it on the production level. When we work with data feeds and we need something to be relevant, we need to have the lowest possible delay ever, like milliseconds. And then it makes sense to, and the sheer amount of, let's say, events which you have throughout the world in all different categories of esports, so vast, so you cannot actually prepare it upfront to get something before the actual time. So the challenge here. So, for example, we work with a client, win.gg, and great guys, and for them, the topic of creating a data-driven content, we spend twice more time on this project than we usually spend on any other sport. And why it was? Because first of all, we needed to clear the data and data points, whether they can be served on time, quickly, and so on. Second of all, the variety of games you have. You cannot treat esports as one. Like each game is different category by itself. And then also you didn't have such also structure in sports data for esports. I mean, to create a data-driven content, you need to have a very good feeds. And those feeds are still not so developed as you have in traditional sports. And this is so incremental in order to turn the data on, let's say, full scale. And with multiple clients who will work in esports, many of them will have their own databases, which they maintain based on their manual input. Sometimes they scrape some data from different websites and so on. Then you get this data to work with, and it's faulty. And of course, the image can, like, for example, imagine we generate an animation for game preview and we put some statistics, but it's wrong, And then, you have the wrong data in, you have the wrong infographics out, and they say, oh, it's wrong. And then you start to investigate, the data feed is bad. So until we'll have the big data providers to establish the basis for data itself and standardize it, because again, we work with one data provider, another one in esports, and all of them have different structure of files. All of them have different approach because this industry is emergent, and you don't have such a unity, and you have rather different types of feeds, and some of them work, some of them don't, and live score is not updated, la 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 la. So it stops. So you take a less risky moves. So in data creation, so you would love to have the most advanced visualization, which will show you the comparison of odds in CSGO game, but you cannot, because there is no feed of odds, which can and odds cannot be so dynamic because there is no underlying feed of data. So it's a bit like a chicken and egg problem.
I was going to say, it sounds like a bit of a chicken and egg problem, right? Because
exactly.
Unless the betting volume is there, it's like you won't get people motivated to create better feeds. Right. But if you don't have better feeds, you can't build content to drive more betting volume, right? Like,
I would say it's a question of time, and it's like Wild West now. Everything is wild. Yeah. So you try to do something and you fail, and something works, something not. But at a certain point of time, the failure rate will be lower and lower and lower, and we will have established anchors which we can use, create content or to create, anything which relates to data. Those betting odds. Betting odds also requires data feeds, and then they require volumes and so on.
Are the publishers to blame, Alex? Do you put the blame on the game publishers themselves for not making data more publicly available? Because technically, esports should have better data. Right?
Should. That's the assumption, Paul. And I would say they're not yet on the business of data. Because in sports, that your data worth something. So basically, all the companies which collect the data or sell the data feeds, or they're already established and they know that, and I think that to get the API which allows you to take all the data is very straightforward in these sports. You don't have to code it like in traditional sports and put the trackers on, do all kind of jumbo jumbo around this kind of how to collect this data. You have it there, and what is interesting is that not publishers. Publishers. Yeah, they like more open APIs, paid API. Doesn't matter. For sports betting industry itself, paying for something is not a problem. So if it would be a reliable feed for certain games, and let's say we can get it officially, not for example, from Sports Radar itself, who are signs those deals and then get in it, or something is filled in manually, or one tournament has one structure of data, another tournament has another structure of data. But to create the APIs and sockets which you can plug in directly and get this even license, like free license, a paid license to get this kind of thing, can be much more easier. I think now it's still a little bit complicated. And again, for data, what is interesting? We are using the system which was developed for traditional sports. So you need to first somehow to collect the data, then someone needs to put it into tables, and then you need to sell it. So there are those companies which aggregate the data, like Sports Radar, Opta, Stats.inc, Instats, Yscout, and so on. So they are good in that. But you can apply. We can cut the middleman here. We can go directly to game publisher and say, okay, give us the direct access to all the applications we want, and then the publisher becomes a data company, and this would be cool. Maybe you're more into the sport. Maybe you saw something like this happening or not. But let's say with my clients, when we will go through, and as a main question, where we'll take data, and it's like, oh, this is like, we need to think about this, where to take data, and this is usually a quick question mark.
I think you just gave us a sneak peek, Alex, onto some of your future clients that you're going to start approaching.
Good point. Good point.
Alex, I'm curious, just one last question before I throw it over to Jimmy and everyone's favorite segment here. But how do you compare the way media companies and the betting companies use your data, your visualizations, your content specifically, right? Like, could you give me a little bit of color into how both those, like, from what I understand from you, the betting companies understand that content drives customer acquisition. I believe that as well, right? It's the core of the belief here at Holodeck, which is the parent company of Business of Esports. But like, what do the media companies, what is the benefit to them? Like, when they go and use your service, right? What are they thinking they can sell more ads? Like, what is the sales pitch to them?
A very good question. And again, United States is a perfect example to examine this, because you guys, when betting became regulated, and it opened up a few years ago, the betting companies quickly realized that they need to follow the media as well. So in betting now, like according to multiple regulations and current dynamics of the market, betting company cannot go and advertise with pollbet.com has a bonus. It just doesn't work. It's also prohibited in multiple jurisdictions. So you cannot do a encouragement to it. So you need to become a media company yourself, or to partner up with a media company. So we have a natural flow of betting companies trying to become a betting media company. Or
Alex, everyone these days is trying to become a media company because they all realize it's the lowest cost of customer acquisition.
But Paul, I will tell you, like betting business and gaming and casinos are a little bit on a handbrake always. They're always few years behind of everything. And this is because of a regulated environment. So as soon as you get your license and your marketing and you enjoy your higher margins. So innovation, no, we don't need innovation. We're pretty good with our margins.
Put more slot machines, right?
Exactly. Let's not break the margins. Oh, no innovation. So basically, if you call yourself a startup or innovator, they never talk to you. So never call. If you work with betting companies, never call yourself a startup or innovator because they don't like you. Like this is the only industry I know when you come to exhibition and you have all those trade shows and so on, and you have a startup room or part of this, and you see those poor founders sitting like, and no one is going there because it's like in betting workplaces, the more bigger you are, okay, with whom do you work? I work with those clients. Why I don't use you? No, you don't. Like, this is a traditional way. It's changing, but basically just still valid. But if we take a look on where we are coming there, we become a bridge between betting companies and media companies. And media companies themselves, they of course want to tap into the marketing budgets of betting companies. And it's usually 30% of their income. If there is a full integration, 30% of advertisement revenue will come from betting companies in regulated environments. So huge growth of revenues. Of course, they're interested in that. That's why you see some some media companies opening their own brands, not to share this traffic which they own. And in this case, when we have a deal between PointsBet and we have NBC, I guess, and we have different deals going on into this area. The only thing the betting company can give now to editors to create content which will be branded by the betting company is a logo and colors. And also maybe access for free to the site so they can check the odds and say, oh, today's odds of blah, blah, blah. But what we do there, we become this kind of a bridge which say, okay, you have the deal, we'll come in and integrate and provide the tools to integrate this betting sponsor like never before, with overlays on the stream, with betting content over shows, which will be not dodgy, but really cool, new age content. And plus, media company will get widgets, banners, landing pages, and this will create a traffic source. And that's where we come with like a bridge between those two things. And when we come to media companies only, we say, do you have a betting sponsor? Say, oh, we don't. So say, maybe you want to use our solution for other sponsorship. But as soon as you have a betting sponsor, we can unlock the whole new way of integration of this betting sport. So what it does, it increases the general value of partnership. And also everyone is happy. Betting companies are happy to be exposed more. Media companies are happy they can expose more. So the value goes up, the amount of money flow goes up, and we are this kind of a third party which enables those two things because we know both worlds, one and the second one working in this direction.
I love that. That's really smart and very, very compelling pitch. That brings us, guys, to this flew by. That brings us to everyone's favorite new segment, Judge Jimmy's cross-examination. Alex, Judge Jimmy's going to ask you a few rapid-fire questions here, get to know you a little bit better. Judge Jimmy, take it away.
All right, Alex, nothing too difficult here. First question, what is your favorite video game?
Oh, FIFA, soccer. FIFA, soccer. That's my favorite one.
Makes sense, right? There's going to be
playing in the office, playing in the office, playing with my brother. This is a way to relax. Yeah.
I hate that these are quick fire, Paul, because that's like a 10-minute discussion on all the news coming out of there. All right, Alex, what is
Hold on, I got to ask before we do it. Yeah. If they stop calling it FIFA, will you still play it, Alex?
Exactly.
Yeah, I will. Okay. I will. I tried all, and it's still the best.
I think that counts as a question too, because that was pretty quick, and that was what was on my mind as well. So you took it out of my mouth perfectly. Alex, what is your favorite video game to watch?
Huh. I would say I like CS:GO, because I used to play it when I was a teenager, so I knew everything there. So I can follow the game and I can really that's what's going on.
I agree. I would add that I think the shoutcasters do an exceptional job, as does the God mode, where a lot of people don't realize, first time watchers don't realize that the players don't see through the walls like that, and you kind of have to explain that to them. That's why it's so impressive. Wonderful. Let's see here. What is your favorite type of food to eat while you're working or playing video games, or just to munch on?
Oh, sushi, this is the best sushi,
While you're gaming, that's impressive. With the chopsticks and the whole
bit. Sometimes you can do hand gesture, like use your hand, like quickly. Of course, it does damage the keyboard sometimes, with the soy sauce. So you need to replace it up. But let's say this is the one.
Well, I got to take that one step further, Alex. What's your favorite sushi roll? I have to know.
Oh, I like dragon roll.
With that eel sauce. Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Last question for you, Alex. Where do you hope your company or you personally are in 5 years from now?
Oh, this is so great. We will be in basically a industry leader for marketing solutions in sports betting and sports media world. And that's where I see us. So if you ever open jimmybet.com, talk to me. We'll give you the best marketing tools possible, so you'll be successful.
It's funny you should mention that.
I'll just buy my website.
Announcing Jimmy Bet. No, I'm just.
Wonderful, Alex. This was so much fun. Thank you for coming on the show. I'm going to give it back to you,
my
Paul.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jimmy.
Alex, for those who want to follow you, follow what BETEGY's up to, like where can you be found or followed? How can people find you or the company?
Follow BETEGY. We have some social accounts. I don't have Instagram or Facebook in person. Twitter is working pretty, well, and LinkedIn. Let's say for business connections, LinkedIn will be the best. Just drop me an email, alex@beteg.com, and this is a best way to contact.
I love that. So simple. Alex, you were amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Jimmy, thank you as always. Just a couple of administrative notes, guys, for our listeners. Don't forget to tune in every Wednesday evening, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. We do a live show. It's broadcast on every platform you find Business of Esports. So LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, you name it. We go live on just about Twitch, even on every single platform. And we cover all the news from the last week. It's a bigger cast. It's a lot of fun. You get to get in our faces, ask questions. Also, don't forget, check out William, the Professor Collis's new show, Office Hours with the Professor. Let us know how much you like it. Leave that 5-star rating and review on every podcast platform you get this. It's really appreciated. I know William appreciates it. And don't forget, guys, the future is fun. We'll see you guys next week.